Welcome back, new subscribers, and those of you who have been with me for a long time. Thank you for your continued support. This tour, the 50-something tour, is the biggest Rush news and announcement that's happened in years. And because of that, we are talking about this tour, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've made at least 3 videos about this, not counting the shorts. The first one was about the initial announcement, where we were all in shock. And then my second video was about the ticket prices. What are we saying? What are we feeling? What are we experiencing about the tour? And please do check out my third video. It's available right now on my channel. This video is about Rush lyrics. Neil's words. What did Neil say? Many of you have just made assumptions about what Neil would feel about this tour. And you've stated in your comments like, well, Neil wouldn't like this, and Neil wouldn't this, and Neil wouldn't that. And my only response is, let's not put words into the mouth of the dearly departed. Let's not assume what a man who has passed away from this earth would say about the situation. And instead of that, I thought, let's go to his actual words. Let's go to the lyrics that Neil had written over the course of a 50-year career. That's what we're talking about tonight. I am Eric. This is the Loudboy Experience. Let's go. This following lyric is so beautiful that, honestly, I do not know the full meaning of it. That doesn't matter, and it probably doesn't matter to you. This following lyric is actually in my yearbook, my high school yearbook, right under my name where it says Eric, parentheses, Loudboy Gardner. That's right. My name goes all the way back to high school. That's where I was given the nickname Loudboy. Right under Eric Loudboy Gardner is this Rush lyric from Closer to the Heart. You can be the captain, and I will draw the chart, sailing into destiny, closer to the heart. Neil is arguably the best lyricist who ever lived. He approached his lyrics with intelligence, with keen observational skills of the world, putting it through his lens of intelligence, logic, and common sense. But on top and surrounding all of that, his lyrics really were close to the heart. There is a sense of hope that is one stringed narrative through so many of his songs. And no matter how many low points and dark points they may have, most of the songs have a glimmer of hope. Even The Pass, a song about taking one's own life, has hope in it, where you look to the stars and you get out of the gutter and you look for something better. Yes, Close to the Heart is just one of the best songs ever written. And Neil Peart, easily one of the best lyricists of all time. This song has come up so many times with regard to possible set lists for the 50-something tour. Suddenly, you were gone from all the lives you left your mark upon. And I feel the way you would, and this just can't be understood. It is kind of like that de facto reference that so many of us make all the time with regard to us as a Rush family, Geddy and Alex, losing Neil. We talk about Afterimage, because suddenly he was gone. Suddenly to us, Neil fought a long, hardened battle with cancer. And very few people knew about that. And I'm sure he struggled, and I can't imagine what he went through up until the end when he was released from the pain and suffering that brought in his life. But, of course, that pain and suffering on an emotional level carries on. What Geddy and Alex have gone through, what Carrie and Olivia have gone through, what we went through the day that we found out Neil had passed. And suddenly he was gone from all of our lives that he left his mark upon. And a lot of people cannot understand this. This song was written about just the glory days of listening to AM, FM radio with your car driving down the road, and you tune into that station. In fact, Alex's guitar part is actually supposed to sound like, you're tuning to different radio stations along your dial. Of course, We don't listen to the radio, especially with an old analog dial like that anymore. But these principles and these thoughts still apply today because it is about the freedom of music. It still can be open-hearted. And the music is still that steady thing that has not changed. Our love of it, our dependence upon it, and the freedom, and just that beautiful feeling we get when we listen to good music. Of course, I'm talking about the spirit of radio. All this machinery making modern music can still be open-hearted. Not so coldly charted, it's really just a question of your honesty. One likes to believe in the freedom of music, but glittering prizes and endless compromises shatter the illusion of integrity. For the words of the prophets are written on the studio wall. Concert hall echoes with the sound of salesmen. Of course, that is a riff on Simon and Garfunkel there, where he takes profits, like someone who prophesies, and turns it into profits, the money you make from selling a good or service, and it echoes with the sound of salesmen. And really, what he's saying is, on this juxtaposition going like, this beautiful thing in music, the pure expression of one's soul, the art form of music, but on the other hand, we have to sell it. It's a commodity. And aren't we seeing that right now? Whether you've gotten a ticket, whether you haven't gotten a ticket, whether you can easily afford it, barely afford it, or trying to afford it, or cannot afford a rush ticket. Due to the market pressures and just how the industry is set up, it has become difficult for many. And again, that sound of salesmen, right? That kind of static or noise now hums and buzzes along next to the sound of music, right? We'd love to go see Rush, but a lot of people sadly cannot. But even so, even if you've got those tickets and you paid $3,000 for 4 tickets, and you're going to go see Rush somewhere, even if that's your story and you're thrilled to do it, you're still at the mercy of this industry. All this machinery is making modern music. But at the core of it, though, what really matters is it can still be open-hearted. What's really beautiful is that at the core, the center, the heart of this new Rush tour, of the 50-something tour, no, we will not have Neil behind the drum set. But what we will have, though, are Neil Peart's lyrics. And really, at the heart of Rush are the words that he penned for us all of those years. So keep that in mind. We still have Neil Peart's lyrics. The words, the message, the things that you and I learned, shared, and sometimes cried over his beautiful lyrics are still part of the core DNA of Rush. Start a new chapter, I find what I'm after is changing every day. The change of the season is enough of a reason I want to get away. Quiet and pensive, my thoughts apprehensive, the hours drift away. Leaving my homeland, playing a lone land, my life begins today. Fly By Night, of course, on their second album, after Neil joined the band, and it really seems appropriate to consider Fly By Night right now, because Annika has joined the band. She is the new drummer, like Neil was all those years ago. Well, of course, we started with John Rutsey, and then he leaves and Neil joins the band. Leaving my homeland, playing a lone land, my life begins today. I've heard so many jokes over the past 2 or 3 weeks. So many jokes with regard to how much tickets are costing in the tour. And I believe most of these are done not with a spirit of ill will, not with any venom behind them, but simply like, hey, sometimes you just have to make it funny. And no one would appreciate that more than Neil, especially Alex and Getty. These guys have a great sense of humor. And I really hope they're enjoying some of our little barbs, jokes, asides, and riffs about all of this. Because again, that's a much better way to deal with something that can be stressful. Anytime you talk about money, it is stressful, whether you have $1 million or 10. Talking about money is inherently stressful, but when you can make light of it, make a joke about it when you're able, I believe that just makes life better. And one of the ones I heard with regard to all right, I'm going to pay $1,200 and I'm getting 2 tickets for me and my wife. And one guy wrote this, and I just loved it so much. We will pay the price, but we will not count the cost. We will pay the price, but we will not count the cost. Of course, this coming from one of my favorite songs ever recorded by Rush, Bravado. Last time I complimented you guys for just being kind and respectful and civil to one another, as we do have a varied sense of this tour, our feelings, and our opinions about it. And because of that, I was reminded of different strings. Different eyes see different things, different hearts beat on different strings. But there are times for you and me when all such things agree. We were all shocked at the news that Geddy and Alex had chosen to go back on tour. But that was only wave one. Wave two was, oh, and by the way, Annika Niles is the drummer that will be performing for us and with us on this tour. And we're going, okay, what? It was shocking. And not just because she's a woman. It's because we didn't like the song how it is. Have that imagination and go, who could it be? Can anyone replace Neil? Is she actually replacing Neil? I've heard every question across the spectrum with regard to Rush, Annika, Geddy, and Alex this tour, and the new drummer, or is she a replacement drummer? Is this a revival? Is this a reunion? So many labels and terms across the board, but Neil spoke, though, to the fact that stands before us. And a lot of you actually have been critical of the fact that she's actually a woman. And Neil wrote about this. And I think we need to seek his wise counsel in this moment. Of course, the song is Alien Shore from Counterparts. You and I, we are strangers by one chromosome, slave to the hormone, body and soul. For you and me, sex is not a competition. For you and me, sex is not a job description. For you and me, we agree. You and I, we reject these narrow attitudes. We add to each other like a coral reef, building bridges on the ocean floor, reaching for that alien shore. For you and me, we hold these truths to be self-evident. For you and me, we elect each other president. For you and me, we might agree, but that's just us, reaching for the alien shore. With Limelight, Neil wrote what is arguably the quintessential song about fame and about being a traveling musician, and he described his condition to being in a gilded cage, meaning a golden or gold-plated cage. And of course, these very famous lyrics, you guys know them so well. And I imagine now Annika, as she's stepping into this role and sitting on the throne behind the drum set, and she's got, Alex and Geddy out in front of her, and they're about to play the first song of the tour on that first night. Living on the lighted stage, it approaches the unreal. For those who think and feel in touch with some reality beyond the gilded cage. So as an artist and as someone famous, you're in that gilded cage and you're sort of in touch with whatever that kind of mysterious reality, maybe that reality you used to know, but now you're kind of trapped in this golden cage. All the world's indeed a stage, and we are merely players, performers, and portrayers, each another's audience outside the gilded cage. Neil's describing himself as being inside the gilded cage, trying to keep in touch with what's outside of it. But of course, all the world's indeed a stage, and we are merely players, which I believe is kind of a riff on some Shakespeare there. Performers and portrayers, each another's audience outside that gilded cage. Neil spoke about dreams a lot throughout the entire Rush catalog. In fact, I have documented over 50 times that Neil has written the word dream in its many different varieties and capacities and uses in the English language. I've actually written an entire blog on this very fact, and it's on my website, where I talk about all of the different meanings of dreams and how, and then I then cite 50 different Rush songs. But one of the very key songs that addresses dreams in the sense that we have a dream to aspire to something. I have a dream and I want to do this and I want to go somewhere. I have a dream that I want to be this person, that kind of dream. And of course, I'm talking about Middletown Dreams. Imagine the dreams of young Annika Niles. And she's learning drums in her earliest days, to becoming very competent, to becoming a professional, to becoming a teacher, to going on tour with Jeff Beck. And then she gets a phone call. She's contacted by Getty and Alex. Hey, why don't you come play with us? Can you imagine the fulfillment of a lifelong dream in that very moment? In Middletown Dreams, it says, dreams transport desires. Dreams, they drive you when you're down. Dreams transport the ones that want to get out of town. The boy walks with his best friend through the fields of early May. They walk along in silence, one close and one far away. But he'll be climbing on that bus, just him and his guitar, to blaze across the heavens like a brilliant shooting star. And they dream in Middletown. When I was playing saxophone, back in like early high school, I've been playing for a couple of years. Well, I didn't go on to become a professional saxophone player. I chose to make videos, and that's what I do, and that's what I've done for over 30 years. But my friend does play and has played professionally in New York City. And his name is Nathan. I named my son after him, in fact. And there's even an episode in season 2 of Daredevil where you can see Nathan, my friend, the professional sax player, on stage at a big club at a fancy place in Daredevil, the TV show. Nathan is there. He, quote, climbed on that bus, and he did shine like a brilliant shooting star. As we have been discussing this tour and Annika, ticket prices, and all the other parts of this story surrounding the 50-something tour, throughout all of this, I have noticed a very obvious trend that feelings run high. A lyric straight from Neil from Emotion Detector. Sometimes our big splashes are just ripples in the pool. These are just ripples in the pool. Which eventually, what happens with a ripple? It's big at first, it becomes smaller and smaller until it dissipates into almost nothing, right? That energy, that kinetic energy, eventually waits. And so is with our lives. The kinetic energy of a moment, the energy of our emotions, of our feelings running high in the moment, they will eventually smooth out. All of us will deal with tragedy at some point in our lives, losing a loved one, a friend, those closest to us. It strikes us down because now we're facing all the days ahead of us without that person. Now think about when we all lost Neil. No one was more affected than, of course, Neil's family and his band family, Getty and Alex. And now it's been close to 5 years at least since we lost Neil. But Neil wrote about this very condition and tried to, in the song How It Is, he tried to tell us about, here's a little trap that sometimes catches at everyone, sometimes trips up everyone. And I have a couple of lines from that. It's such a cloudy day, and it seems we'll never see the sun or feel the day has possibilities. Frozen in the moment. It's a lack of imagination between how it is and how it ought to be. The possibility of the day, seizing the day. Do you stay frozen in that moment, unable to imagine what could be? With enough imagination, you can go find how something ought to be. I've often said that I'm thankful for time in the fact that we have 2020 hindsight as we look back on our lives. None of us can see the 3D chessboard from above. We cannot see what life is going to give us. We are not fortune tellers. That doesn't exist. But we can look back and go, wow, I am here. I am this person. I have these things and I have accomplished these things because I see this elaborate chain of events. We cannot predict these things. They are kind of like the spinning of a wheel or the big wheel. And Neil wrote about this. I was lined up for glory, but the tickets sold out in advance. Sound familiar? The way the big wheel spins. The wheel goes around, landing on a leap of fate. Life redirected in ways unexpected. Sometimes the odd number wins. The way the big wheel spins. Life redirected in ways unexpected. Now imagine that you are Annika. Suddenly you get that phone call from Getty and Alex. Hey, come on, come join us for the tour. And I love that Neil wrote about this because he understood that we can't predict any of this stuff. And sometimes things just happen. And hopefully they happen for a reason that works out for the good of all of us. So you get that phone call from Getty and Alex, and you're Annika. I imagine she felt like the main character of Caravan from Clockwork Angels. On my way at last, on my way at last. That sudden redirection of her life, and now she's on her way at last. And if I were her, I can't stop thinking big. As I've been observing all of your comments and opinions and thoughts about the tour, and specifically with regard to how much the industry is charging all of us, so many times you guys have referenced the big money, which I might remind you that someone once said it is the root of all evil. Also a Dream Theater song. Sometimes pushing people around, sometimes pulling out the rug, sometimes pushing all the buttons, sometimes pulling out the plug. Big money goes around the world. Big money give and take. Big money done a power of good. Big money makes mistakes. Big money's got a heavy hand. Big money take control. Big money got a mean streak. Big money got no soul. When the news of the 50-something tour came out, it made sense that it affected a lot of us very deeply. And this reminded me of some Rush lyrics that Neil wrote a while back in the late 90s. All my nerves are naked wires, tender to the touch, sometimes super sensitive, but who could care too much? Scars of pleasure, scars of pain, atmospheric changes make them sensitive again. Of course, this is a reality for a lot of us who actually hold scars and have scars from injuries and surgeries and stuff like this. A lot of us have arthritis. I know I do. And atmospheric changes do affect us. I can tell you when it's going to rain because of my arthritis. But this is also true of emotional scars. When the environment changes and when the atmospheric pressure changes. For instance, when a new tour is announced and there's a new drummer and it's not Neil, of course we're affected by it. We carry those scars forward for the rest of our lives. In the moment the atmosphere changes and there's new information and new things are happening and we have to confront these and deal with these, and then we start having feelings and opinions about them, the atmosphere changes and those scars are raw again. We start feeling the way we felt back then. It's just human nature. It's how we're built and designed. So scars seemed very appropriate. Sweet memories flashing very quickly by. Sweet memories. I never thought it would be like this. So many of us have sweet memories of seeing Rush, Getty, Alex, and Neil Peart on the stage. And we hold on to those. And at this point in my life, I treasure these memories. All of the times I got to see Rush live, those are very sweet memories because we don't have Neil anymore. These memories are priceless. These memories will not cost $1, let alone $1,000, to see Rush in our memory. Whatever little clip or snippet we have in our memory, we have those, and those are very sweet. And I'm very thankful for them. Waiting for someone to call and turn your world around. Looking for an answer to the question you have found. Looking for an open door. Should we just wait around and hope that someone's going to kick down a door and say, come on, you got to be my guy? Or should we go out and fight for it? It's not just going to happen. You are not going to be given this amazing sweetheart deal. You don't get something for nothing. Get up and seize the day. Carpe diem, get up and do it. Every day we're standing in a time capsule, racing down the river from the past. Every day we're standing in a wind tunnel, facing down the future coming fast. It's just an age. It's just a stage. We disengage and we turn the page. You know, I'm reminded now of time. And I think about this a lot. How do we use our time? How do we make the most of each day? How do we carpe diem, seize the day? And then I think about now the over the 1,000 comments on my channel alone from you guys, and now far outweighing the criticisms, the complaints, and the people having issues with ticket prices are those of you who have reported back to all of us saying, I'm excited. I got 2 tickets. I've got 4 tickets. I'm bringing my kids for the first time. I'm going to this venue and that venue. I'm going to multiple concerts and I've got 2 seats for each. I may have paid a lot of money, but I'm excited. And you know what? I'm thrilled to do it. Over and over and over again, I've heard this. And then I think to myself, what if Getty and Alex hadn't turned the page? Think about the hundreds and thousands of people now who are going to see Getty and Alex and Annika play as Rush, an opportunity that didn't exist before. And it's because they stared down that wind tunnel of time and thought, you know what, let's do this. As we've been discussing the 50-something tour for 2 or 3 weeks now, many times Neil's family has come up in the conversations that I've either seen or been part of. And so many times I've reminded people that in the very first press announcement on the Rush website, there is a note, something shared by Carrie and Olivia Peart, giving their support of the tour. And by extension, they lended support for the choosing and having Annika join them for the 50-something tour. This is an important fact, and I just wanted to show you what they said. This was shared by Carrie and Olivia Peart, who of course are Neil's widow and daughter. We are thrilled to support the 50-something tour, celebrating a band whose music has resonated and inspired fans for generations, and to honor Neil's extraordinary legacy as both drummer and lyricist. Neil's musicianship was singular, compositions of intricacy and power that expanded what rhythm itself could express. As both drummer and lyricist, he was irreplaceable. He was exemplary, special, and very unique in his artistry, and unmatched in the depth and imagination he brought to the lyrics that inspired and moved so many. He profoundly shaped how fans connected with him and the band, giving voice and meaning in their own lives. As the band enters this new chapter, it promises to be truly unforgettable, and we are excited to see how their new vision unfolds and to hear this legendary music played live once again. This song addresses many different facets that I believe kind of apply to this tour, one of which is that life is a journey and that we have to take action. And Neil wrote about this a lot, right? Taking action in our lives and seizing the day. But also that time is just flying by. What are you going to do about it? It's not a race, it's a journey. It's not a style, it's an action. Maybe time is a bird in flight, endlessly rocking. It's a method on the edge of madness. It's a balance on the edge of a knife. It's a smile on the edge of sadness. It's a dance on the edge of life, endlessly rocking. And that kind of reminded me of this a moment. It's almost like Getty and Alex have been chilling out in the cradle all this time. Here we come out of the cradle. John Rutsey, part of the original Rush. He did leave the band, and what did they get? They had a replacement drummer, Neil Peart. Let's not forget this. There was someone before Neil. As hard as that is for so many of us to say, think and believe, yes, we know that. And I'm thankful to John for his contribution. May he rest in peace. But even Neil was, quote, a replacement or someone who would then fulfill the role of drummer. And yes, we have lost Neil. And we're saddened by that. But once again, let's go along as they turn the page. And as the spirit of the band carries on, we went from John to Neil, and now it's Annika. It's that straightforward. And yet I know how so many of you feel. Time and time again, I have heard from you. And I feel the same exact way when you say that I have been blessed to see Rush from this date, some of you back in the 70s. For me, it was Roll the Bones all the way through R40 many different times, all with Neil behind the drum set, playing Rush songs. It's so hard for me to even conceptualize what is Rush without Neil. It is difficult for us. It's difficult for me. And yet, all this time, I've tried to keep an open mind. I've tried to trust Getty and Alex. I've tried to trust in what I know about Annika and go, okay, hey, good luck, and I hope it's amazing. For all of you who have subscribed, thank you. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button, like it if you like it, and share this with your friends. I am Eric, and this is the Loudboy Experience. You guys have a good night.